A well-known college football expert just gave huge praise to Indiana football, not as a team, but as a program that people should be on the lookout for moving forward. And yeah, I totally agree.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen or your first watch every single day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day and the nation's #1 sports podcasting network. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail, wins that define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Well, we're going to talk some Indiana basketball at the end of the show because are they a real tournament team? Not in terms of bracketology. I'm saying, can Indiana make the tournament and win a game in the NCAA tournament? We'll talk about why and how I think that they can be. Plus, we'll take a look at the NFL draft because the Combine is coming up here very quickly, and 9 players from Indiana got invited, but some snubs in there as well. We'll talk about that. But I want to start today's show with a clip that I can't play for you, but I want to talk about from a well-known college football expert who just gave high praise to Indiana football, not the national championship team in particular, but talking about the Indiana program as a whole. And he goes on to talk about how they are a top 3 college football program in America right now. Some of you may have heard of him. Some of you may have not. If you haven't, I highly recommend you go and check him out. He does incredible work, and my goodness, he doesn't need me to promote his stuff because he's one of the biggest college football content creators in the world. It's Josh Pate, who did an entire show that he posted a day or two ago, and it's college football's top 12 programs. He has Ohio State, he has Georgia, and then there's Indiana. And I think that's a big deal for people like him and for everybody in our space to acknowledge that Indiana is not a one-hit wonder, that they are not a two-hit wonder, that this is a program under Curt Cignetti that is here to stay. And he goes on to talk about, again, go check it out. Just look up Josh Pate on YouTube or on any of your audio platforms. You'll find his show. He does incredible work. He goes on to talk about how this is easy to be seen as a knee-jerk reaction, right? And I think a lot of people who are praising Indiana, other than folks like me who do it every day, it's easy to look at that and say, okay, well, they're here for now, but they won't be forever. And okay, they just, they found the needle in the haystack. They're here for a minute, but we're not worried about them long term. But you're starting to see more people jump on this train, and you're starting to see more people actually believe it. Now, a lot of our rivals in the Big Ten don't want to believe it because they're scared to death and they're so mad at themselves for letting Indiana win a national championship that they'll never speak up and they'll just be depressed in their rooms forever, right? I'm looking at Iowa in particular, Purdue, of course, and so many other of our Big Ten foes. Illinois is another one. The teams out west, USC, God, I'm sure they can't stand it either. But people are starting to understand that Indiana is legit. And you look at all the reasons why. They can recruit at a high level in high school. Their transfer portal classes continue to be the best in the nation. 2026, believe it was ranked #1 as well. And they just keep finding great players and making them even better. On top of having the nation's best college football head coach in Curt Cignetti and both of your coordinators staying put. Right? That's what made Nick Saban so good back in the day, was a lot of his coordinators stayed. But then over time, as they all got good and the Saban coaching tree became a thing and the weight that carried, then his coordinators left every year and he was still winning and competing for championships, which was remarkable. But eventually he couldn't keep up and eventually he got out of the game altogether. Right? Oregon just lost both of its coordinators. Georgia has lost coordinators. Ohio State just lost one of the best coordinators in the country to go be a head coach somewhere else. But Indiana's core has stayed together. And heck, they're still adding to it with Tino Sunseri coming back. Indiana's coaching core has not changed. And until that does, I think Indiana is one of the best programs in college football. I 100% agree with what Josh Pate had to say. And again, he admitted that a 2-year window is normally not fair to judge a team, hence a program, on its long-term success and predicting all of that. But in today's era of football, I think it's fair to do so for Indiana. I think it's fair to say that Indiana's not going anywhere with how bad we were and now how good we are. Right? And I think it could be the conversation could be had too, even if the Hoosiers didn't win the college football playoff national championship this year, even if we just got further than we did a year ago. Right? If we had started to build and continue to add on to it, that would be scary too. But it's the idea that Indiana just won a national title and the roster that they have for 2026 could be better than the one that they just had. Think about that for a moment. There are some holes, sure. There's some depth concerns here and there. But I think your starters on both sides of the football have every chance to be just as good, if not better. Some positions more than others. But it is going to be very comparable, and the Hoosiers are going to be able to do that for years and years to come. And when I think, me personally, when I think of a top program in college football, that's what I think of. I think of a team that puts players in the NFL consistently, which we're going to talk about in the next segment coming up in just a few minutes. A program that consistently puts guys in the league, but then finds their replacement who's just as good, if not better. A good program recruits highly at the high school level and gets guys that they want. And when they walk in the door, everybody shuts up and listens. I think Indiana's at that point too. And I think of a good program that when they are on your schedule, other teams go, crap, we got to play Indiana. We got to play Ohio State. God, we got to go here. We got to play here. You know what I mean? And I think Indiana is there. Now, whether other teams in the Big Ten want to admit it or not, when they find Indiana on their schedule, unless your name is Ohio State, which, given that we beat them, they should think this way, but they are worried about it. Michigan should be worried that Indiana's coming to Ann Arbor. Washington should be worried that Indiana is coming to Seattle. USC should be scared to death having to come to Bloomington. They'll never admit it, but they should be. Because Indiana is one of the best programs in college football. Josh Pate said it well. I agree with him. Go check out his channel and his stuff because he had a lot of good things to say. But more people are starting to buy into this and not just jump on a bandwagon. They're jumping on a full-on freight train, and Indiana's barreling down the tracks and not stopping anytime soon. Well, speaking of Indiana football and speaking of the league, the NFL, the draft, it's coming up in April. The combine is coming up in about a week or two. We'll talk about the players for Indiana who will be represented there and some who got snubbed and won't. We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. We have highlighted our man Lamar Wilkerson again. He played great the other day on Sunday against Illinois for Indiana basketball. He's pretty much the only one that played well for Indiana basketball. He constantly moves this team forward. He always has the game in his hands and a guy that will go down as one of the best scorers and maybe just the best players that we've ever seen for Indiana basketball. It wasn't enough then, but we're going to need a big performance coming up on Friday night in West Lafayette when we got to go to Purdue. But every time he's on the floor, it reminds us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's the extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, the grit, and I never quit. We put that same passion into every model at Mazda. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. All right, use your profit boost on any NBA future right now, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. So, coming out of the All-Star break right now, if you have a team in mind that you're like, yeah, they're going on a run, I feel it, it's gonna happen, I'm placing the futures on it right now. Do that, and then you're gonna get already put into this sweepstakes here to try and get a free trip to the NBA Finals, a fully paid for trip, a full experience. And not only can you cash in that pick if it wins, you can be there to watch it happen. How cool would that be? Visit FanDuel.com right now to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. And if you haven't already, be sure you check out our Locked On Hoosiers Everydayer Club. For $5 a month, you can get this show's audio version ad-free every single day into your inbox. So if you don't want to listen to ads anymore, cool. We can fix that for you. We also have access to a Locked On Hoosiers Discord channel, plus all the other shows. You can get into the big group chats there as well. And we have special access to some merch things and some other cool stuff. So you can check that out with the link in the description below. We continue talking Indiana football because we were talking about what makes a good program is a team and a program that sends guys to the league. And Indiana will now have 9 different players represented at the NFL Draft Combine coming up in just a short amount of time. Draft Combine scheduled February 23rd through March 2nd. Cool thing is it's in Indianapolis, which is typically where it is, but it's cool that you have basically it going on in your backyard. And Indiana's got some big names that are going to be represented there. I want to start on the defensive side because this is where the names are good, but there's a couple of snubs in my opinion. Aiden Fisher got invited. No shocker there. One of the nation's best linebackers, right, this past season and the year before, if you ask me. Lewis Moore got invited. Want to also say how awesome was it that he won his case all the way back in the beginning, right? Played the first 4 games, had to wait for the courts to decide if he was eligible or not, was able to win his case and play the rest of the season and was a huge part of Indiana's defensive success and why Indiana won a national championship. And then D'Angelo Ponce, who is one of the best secondary guys in college football. And he's projected like middle to late second round right now, depending on the latest one I've got pulled up here is the 37th pick to the New York Giants. Folks, if you watch D'Angelo Ponce and you don't see an NFL corner, maybe a nickel if that's where they want to play him, if you don't see that, then your evaluation is wrong. This will be one of the most underrated players taken in the NFL draft. He will be in the league for a long time. Okay, so those 3 guys defensively for Indiana are the ones who actually did get invited. But it's some guys on the defensive side that didn't get invited that I think are kind of interesting. Stephen Daly is one, right? One of the best, if not the best defensive lineman in the Big Ten. Michael Kamara didn't get invited to the draft combine. Now, you don't have to go to the draft combine to be drafted or go to the league or anything like that. It's just, this is where you get the extra chance to display your skills, right? So those 2 are the ones that stick out to me, Stephen Daly and Michael Kamara. And I understand that Kamara didn't have a great year this past season. The year before was his better one, but man, just turn on the film and it speaks for itself, if you ask me. So those are the guys defensively that did get invited and didn't get invited. Offensively is where it's a heavy hitter, right? We know Fernando Mendoza, as he is still projected to be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, which is so cool, so awesome, and pretty surreal, and something that's hard to believe sometimes. Roman Hemby got invited. Very happy for him. What a career he ended up having and a great decision he made transferring from Maryland to Indiana. Your receiver duo, Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt, they're going to go and they're going to be awesome. They're going to be great. They are going to be NFL wide receivers. This mock draft that I have pulled up right now has Surratt going 63rd to the New England Patriots, and actually has Omar Cooper going higher than him to the Miami Dolphins at 43rd. This is just one that I have pulled up. You can pull up, there's 17 different mock drafts out there, but those guys, second, third rounders for Cooper and Surratt. And there's an interesting debate on which one will be the better pro style receiver. It could be Cooper. Maybe that's why he's projected higher. Maybe they see a little bit more NFL potential in him. Maybe like what's a good comparison? DK Metcalf is what I initially thought, but DK was a lot more physical than Omar Cooper. I don't know. Maybe like an AJ Brown. He was kind of more physical too, though. I don't know. AJ Green, maybe not as fast, right? AJ Green, remember him, the Georgia kid that played for the Bengals for a long time? I don't know. I think Omar Cooper has a chance to be special. He's got the bigger go up and get it type of play compared to Surratt. And then this one kind of surprised me. I can't lie. I was surprised when I saw that Riley Nowakowski, Indiana's tight end, received an invite to the NFL Draft Combine. And this has been out for several days, but this is the first time I've really had a chance to react to it here on the show. I was surprised to see Riley Nowakowski, not because of Riley, not because of him. I think he's a great player, and my goodness, how many big plays did he make for Indiana this year with and without the football in his hands? I just didn't think the NFL would give him a shot. And, hopefully somebody drafts him, and so hopefully somebody takes that chance, and whether they draft him or sign him as an undrafted free agent, like hopefully somebody takes a chance on him, because he will make an NFL team very happy. Is he the next Rob Gronkowski at the tight end spot? No, but he could be someone that you feel like you have to have on the field, because he always makes the right decisions. He picks up his blocks, and he's there if you need him, right? He's a dump off opportunity if you need him. But I was a little shocked that he got the invite. And what I'll tell you this too, someone I was surprised that didn't get the invite for Indiana offensively is Kaelon Black. That's somebody I was very surprised that did not get an invite, because Roman Hemby got one and Kaelon Black did not. No, I think the volume of rushes this past season probably dampened Kaelon Black's, resume a little bit, if you will. But somebody better take a chance on him. They will be very happy, because he runs so hard, right? We talked about he runs mad at the earth. He just stomps the ground when he runs. He's quick, hits the hole, can block when he needs to, and you can dump footballs off to him out of the backfield, which will make an NFL offense very happy. So all of that to say this. Indiana putting guys like this in the league at several positions on both sides of the football, and having a chance at double-digit players from this team going to an NFL team, whether it's drafted or signed, that's a big deal. This relates back to what we were just talking about with the comments from Josh Pate about Indiana being a top 5, top 3 college football program. Not just a team, but a program, one that recruits want to go to, one that recruits see. We just had a recruiting episode yesterday with our guy Brian Smith talking about a defensive lineman and a receiver. Here you go. You've got proof now that you can put guys like that in the league if you come to Indiana. You can show up great, we're going to make you greater. You can show up good, and we're going to make you great. That's what the Hoosiers can sell. And you continue to churn out classes like this. You continue to put dudes in the league where when their graphic goes up on TV, it says Indiana beneath it with the IU logo out there. And you can then celebrate them in the IU football facility and have them up on the scoreboard on Saturdays at Memorial Stadium. Yeah, those are things that make big programs. And Indiana's got some good dudes going to the league. Can't wait to see where they go and cheer them on in their next adventures. All right, coming up in our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, going to flip to the hardwood and have more of an open conversation, because Indiana basketball is a bubble team at best right now. Their loss against Illinois didn't quite hurt, but it also didn't help them like a win would have. And you got another chance to do it on Friday against Purdue. But is Indiana a real tournament team? We talk about that and what that means coming up next. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, and the one position that you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. The skills, experience, and location, so you're not just hoping that the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's a stat that'll tell you everything you need to know. In about the minute or so that I'm going to talk to you about Indeed, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show right now, Locked On Hoosiers, you're going to get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying that you heard about it right here on Locked On Hoosiers. All right, plug it. Tell them that this is where you heard it from. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. All right, final segment on today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you again so much for being here. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Follow us on your audio podcasting platforms. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comments. We want to hear from you and see what you think about Indiana football, recruiting, NFL, basketball, you name it. I want to hear from you down in the YouTube comments. And on our final segment today, I want to flip to the hardwood, because there's a lot of talk going on right now. And to be blunt and honest with you, I have not seen, as of this recording, the latest bracketology. Joe Lunardi at ESPN, he does his on Tuesday mornings and Friday mornings, and it's not possible for me to record this and post it when it needs to if I wait for him to update that. There are some other ones out there, sure, but this isn't as much about that as it is me giving you my opinion on if I think Indiana is a tournament team. Because here's what I do. Okay, in case you haven't noticed or you are kind of new here, I'm a big believer in the eye test in college basketball. And in basketball, almost more than any other sport. Football, baseball, hockey. We got curling and stuff going on right now in the Olympics. But basketball, to me, and I'm not claiming to be some kind of a czar that can predict the future, because that's not true. I wish, but I can't. I just rely on my intuition and the eye test more than any number can tell me. Plus, minus, Ken Pom, net, Torvik, I don't care. Those numbers are great, and numbers don't lie. But I'm a firm believer that they also don't tell the whole story. And if I watch a team for weeks and weeks on end, as I do a lot of teams, including Indiana more than any other team, I can give you my thoughts on whether I think they are a tournament team or not. And that means at their highest, at their lowest, and whatever it is in between, right? Some teams are a lot more predictable in that gray area. Then there's Indiana, whose gray area is as tall as a skyscraper, and you just don't know what you're going to get. But based off what I've seen of the teams that Indiana has beat, the teams that Indiana has played, and the teams that Indiana has lost to, as it stands right now, mid-February, less than a month to go in the season, right? With Selection Sunday quickly approaching, with the regular season schedule coming to a close, Big Ten tournament approaching, and then Selection Sunday, I do believe that Indiana is a tournament team. I do. I think Indiana basketball is good enough to make the NCAA tournament and win an NCAA tournament game. And I think that the committee, actually, I take that back. I know that the committee uses that. They use that in their measurement. They use rankings on your wins over tournament teams, your win over bubble teams, your win over teams on the outside looking in. They use all of that to determine if you should make the tournament. And I just think that watching this Indiana team with the resume that we have and the chances we have left, my goodness, I think we are a tournament team. Now, would a win over Louisville or Kentucky have helped in non-con? Yeah. Would a win over Minnesota on the road, or not even a win, just avoiding that loss, that's your only quad 2 loss, would that have helped? Yeah. Would a win over Nebraska, Michigan State, Iowa, or Michigan in a 4-game losing streak help? Yeah. But you know what else helps? A win over Purdue, a road win over UCLA, a win over Wisconsin, who's one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten right now. All of that helps. And I think the Hoosiers are hanging on by a thread, but my gut tells me this team can make the tournament and win a tournament game. Now, they have to play a good offensive game, and they got to play good defensively, and they can't turn it over, and somebody not named Lamar Wilkerson is going to have to score. But I believe that this team can make the tournament. And looking at the latest matchups, again, I haven't seen the latest one today on the 17th, okay? I've seen Indiana paired up with Auburn. I've seen Indiana paired up with other teams from the Big Ten. I've seen Indiana paired up with several different matchups, some high G6 teams, whatever it is now. Indiana can beat some of those teams if they're an 8, 9, or 10 seed because you're all kind of in there together, right, as a 7 through 10. But the Hoosiers need, for me personally, I need to see one more. Give me one more performance that sells me and the tournament committee on the idea that you can get there and not get blown out. They don't want that. They don't want blowouts in the first round. Because let's not forget what the NCAA tournament is all about. It's about the money. It's about the profit. It's about how much money each team generates by making the tournament. I promise you, they want Indiana in the tournament, which is why it was kind of surprising that they left us out last year. But I think they knew that that team just didn't have it. That team was bad last year. This team can be good. This team can also be brutal. But in my opinion, I think the tournament committee, if the Hoosiers play well down the stretch in the last 5 games, I think they'll take a chance on us. I do, because of Lamar Wilkerson, because of the scoring ability and the high-flying offense that we have at certain times. Is that fair to other teams who are on the bubble? No, probably not. But that's how the committee thinks. And if you didn't know that, congrats. Now you do. I think that's why they'll put us in, and I think we're good enough to win a game. But I would love to see us beat Purdue on Friday. Would love to see us beat Michigan State next weekend. Would love to see us handle business down the stretch. And don't forget about the Ohio State game in Columbus on March 7th. I'm telling you, that game has become so important because it could be 2 teams fighting to make the NCAA tournament. The winner could be in, the loser could be out. I think it's that razor thin, but we'll worry about that when we get there. We've got the Boilermakers coming up on Friday night. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Thank you so much again for being here. I appreciate your support. However you find the show, watch the show, listen to the show, thank you so much for doing that. And tell all your friends, tell your family, any IU fan in the country that you know, send them our show, okay? We are back tomorrow, Hoosier fans, for another episode. So until then, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.